Hi there, Internet Associate. It's Anthony, and I'm about to watch another episode of Lucifer. So, this is Season 3, Episode 5. Welcome back, Charlotte Richards. Well, that seems to tell me a lot based off the title. I would assume that we're going to be seeing the return of Charlotte Richards this episode. Now, what I'm not sure is if she's going to be coming in the form of actual Charlotte Richards, or if this also is indicating a return of the goddess, which I kind of don't expect. I kind of don't expect that to be the case. I'm guessing this is just going to be the regular Charlotte Richards, but either way, this should be pretty interesting to see what she's going to be doing, back involved on the show, and, what part she'll be playing in all this. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is Lucifer, Season 3, Episode 5. Welcome back, Charlotte Richards. He's really enjoying that. What is this? I feel like I'm watching Breaking Bad. Whoa.
Oh, hell. Trixie. Mom.
I love how Lucifer does these.
No excuses.
These scene transitions. Usually they do it verbally, like somebody will say something and it'll reference what's about to come in the next scene. But this was a nice visual version of that, which is a little bit different from what they do, but still in the same vein. So I just wanted to take a second to appreciate that.
Oh, hell. Trixie. Mom,
Hey.
I lost one of
Bad
my
language.
lasso. No excuses.
I don't know why I thought swear jars were usually for the adult and the money goes to the kid rather than the other way around. But I don't know. I guess it can work that way too.
Swear jar?
If your kid has some money to be giving.
Here, child. This should buy you plenty of juicy words. You swear away.
Trixie.
Over him getting in my head. So as of today, I've decided I shall no longer be affected by my father's shenanigans.
Really?
We'll see how long
do I
that
get
lasts.
Child. Before you do that,
What is he gonna ask Trixie to do now? I like it when Trixie gets involved in things, so
Right,
hopefully it'll be fun. That looks
Someone
fun.
forgot to.
well, he obviously drowned in this vat of semen.
Pudding, Lucifer.
Sure. I
Oh
bet
my
he called
God.
that too.
That's above my pay grade. You'd have to talk to the big man upstairs.
God.
He said, God, I knew he was gonna
no,
think that.
the company's owner.
Oh, right.
He's like, yeah, you can just take those stairs right there, actually.
Did you bring the tapes?
Sorry, but no.
What?
Why not?
Because I told him not to.
Here we go.
Mr. Yates' attorney and the LAPD isn't laying a finger on those tapes.
Ma'am?
No, it's not your mom, Lucifer. You know how this all works. I forget what the actress's name is, but obviously she did a really good job last season, so I guess they figured she was, too good of an addition to the show to just completely write off like that. So they decided they'd find a way to bring her back. It's weird seeing her already, even though it's only been like 5 episodes that we haven't seen her. Really 4.
You will not give them a reason to put you in a padded cell.
Imagine going months that you don't remember though. That's crazy. Imagine just not remembering your life for the last few months and just having to go with it.
The top of that list.
All right, detective, you can stop right there. Mr. Yates, not a word. We're done here.
But I'm not done with you.
Which part of my briefcase
I
closing
wish you
do
would
not
keep on
understand?
talking. Which part of my briefcase closing do you not understand? Charlotte Richards. Oh, she got a Rubik's Cube. Charlotte Richards is definitely. They're probably wondering. At least Chloe is probably thinking, "Wow, Charlotte Richards is actually like a real legit lawyer now." Not that she didn't seem like that before, because the goddess was doing a good job pretending. But I imagine that it'll probably be a real noticeable difference there now that the actual true lawyer is in the body.
She barely even looked at me. It's like she's a completely different person.
That's very perceptive, Daniel.
I think you're onto
What worries me is
something.
why is
But I thought you were done being affected by your father's shenanigans over him getting in your head.
You're right. I did say that, didn't I?
Yes.
I'm surprised Chloe doesn't want to actually meet Lucifer's father at this point, see what all the hype is about. And I also am wondering if she's going to say anything to Charlotte Richards about being Lucifer's stepmom, because then that'll definitely really muddle things and throw some confusion in the mix. Wait, she's dressing up like an angel. Lucifer might not like that.
I approve.
Oh, he approves.
Unless Dad has something to do with this as well.
You're getting paranoid at this point, Lucifer.
Conflicted, but
All this pudding. They should have used the white pudding like they had earlier. Right now, I just feel like I'm looking at 2 girls, 1 cup.
I've never wanted pudding more in my life.
Exactly. Because we're selling sex, which has absolutely nothing to do with pudding.
Hey,
Distract
you can
people
argue
from the
there.
fact that my pudding tastes like crap.
Looks like it too.
This may not be about corporate sabotage as much as corporate espionage.
Lucifer's doing some espionage of his own right now. And this dude, he want to be Castiel so bad.
Detective, what's happening?
Sometimes big corporations, they have fixers on their payroll to prevent corporate espionage.
Or clever detectives from learning about said espionage?
I'm not saying anything more without my lawyer.
These people love their lawyer.
All that time, what did you think we were?
What did you think?
Yeah, she's like, what did you think we were?
I have no freaking clue.
Dan, you got to be a little more specific right now.
You seduced me. Nothing about any of that makes any sense to me.
I'm sorry, Detective Espinosa.
She's like, you can't even call me my first name.
I'm gonna let Lucifer deal with you because he's the only one who ever really, I guess, understood what you were up to anyways.
So Lucifer and I were close?
I'm going to let Lucifer deal with you. Taken out of the context of this show, that sounds like it means something completely different.
Thanks. That was Trixie's school calling. Apparently she's
She's
been
swearing.
using some very creative language today. Well, she called her math homework a cluster duck and her teacher a mother flunker.
Was entirely
Feels
the
like
little
we're in
deviant's
the good
creation, and
place.
Very clever of her, I might add.
That's not the point.
Very
I'm trying
clever.
to teach my child a lesson, and you just made my job that much more difficult.
You parents, always with your lessons, or as I like to call them, mind games. What,
Then it turns out
what
to
are you
be
doing here?
Charlotte Richards. Oh, did she misinterpret what Dan meant by close? Oh, this is gonna be super awkward if that's where this is headed.
But come on, tell me, why are you here?
Yeah, she totally misinterpreted what Dan meant.
What in Dad's name are you doing?
I don't understand. You couldn't keep
This
your
is
eyes off me
embarrassing.
at the precinct. You're desperate. Well, if not lovers, then what were we? Friends?
More like
Business partners? I was wondering if you go there and say family.
I can't
How do you explain that?
take this anymore. I'm missing time. Months and months of time.
A whole season's worth. How are her kids doing?
I have no idea why my husband got custody of the kids.
Ah, okay.
Reliving it over and over and over again. It was almost like I was in
hell.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Lucifer. Pay my taxes, don't hurt anyone.
Or perhaps you feel more guilt than you realize.
Wow. And I had a feeling we might go in somewhat of a direction like this episode, because they were talking about accountability earlier. Accountability and guilt can kind of go hand in hand. But that's really interesting to discover that she was actually in hell, because I was wondering, so she did technically die. So what happened with that? So she really did die and go to hell, and she's been in hell this whole time. And then I guess somehow the goddess leaving her body managed to bring her original soul back into said body.
So
There's a
perhaps
second
avoid
chance.
doing devious and dastardly things from now on. I mean, it's boring, I know.
Does knowingly impeding a homicide investigation count?
Oh.
Just quit cold turkey, Ella. Not at a time like this.
He is addicted to
It could always
pudding.
be worse. You can end up like our Vic here.
I bet that Dan actually wouldn't have minded dying the way that the guy at the beginning of this episode died. Like, Dan's probably like, well, if I were to ever go out in some type of way, if I could pick, that doesn't sound too bad. He probably was a little jealous. Let's see how unobstructed this view is, or obstructed the view is. Dan's fantasy.
Killer here.
Just as my client said.
All this video shows is what we already know, that
Oh my gosh. Of course.
It was Dan.
What the hell?
Melamine and cyanuric acid.
What?
Separate, both are harmless. But when combined, they create a hard to detect toxin that over time can cause, drumroll please, renal failure.
Well, Dan's already eaten about 55 gallons of this stuff, so I don't know how much his life has been saved. We gotta get this man's stomach pumped.
Charlotte, where are you going?
To join the Peace Corps, donate my entire savings to an orphanage, or build a shelter for blind, one-legged puppies.
Well, as long as you're not being overdramatic.
Representing guilty murderers is just part of your job, though. I mean, it's not really anything you can do. It's just your job, you know? You gotta do it. They have the right to representation.
To help clear my ledger, but instead it just revealed that I've been defending 3 guilty people? If that's true, how guilty does that make me?
Not guilty at all. Just guilty of doing your job, honestly.
What does
Ooh.
that mean?
I used to see a light in you. Now I don't know, something's different.
Oh, man.
All I see now is darkness.
That's gotta hurt. Ella is such a pure soul. Her saying that all she sees in you is darkness has to hurt. But at the same time, it's pretty funny what they just did there. Her saying, I used to see a light in you. And we know what that means. Charlotte literally had a light in her. And Ella, being the perceptive person that she is, probably could in some way actually see it, even though she was just speaking metaphorically, of course.
He said something about how it was his own fault. Simon said that maybe he should just end it.
And what?
His life.
Bruh, you talked to them earlier and you didn't mention all this? I swear, these people just love trickling this information out when they know good and well they could have mentioned this beforehand.
I had no idea what he was talking about.
That didn't seem like an important conversation to you? Thank you.
when he showed up dead.
Thank you, Chloe. That's exactly what I'm saying. Come on,
Not
man.
like he jumped into that vat.
Maybe he did.
I mean,
You couldn't see
boiling
anybody.
pudding. There's easier ways to go.
The funny thing is, I was thinking that though. I really was thinking that, and I should have said it. I was thinking, it really looks like he just jumped in there himself. I should have said it out loud, because now if that's what happened, I could say that I predicted it and called it, but I didn't say it out loud, so I guess it doesn't count now because they're already going in that direction. Feel like we're too early in the episode though. There's another twist coming.
Charlotte, good news.
More
It was a
information.
suicide.
Now here I am, the second chance, and one of you is screwing it up. So speak.
Holding people at gunpoint isn't a good way to avoid hell either
Which
though.
one of you can
Bitch.
sit down?
Why don't you make me?
What? Oh, did she shoot the pudding?
What the hell? You could have shot me.
Very easily. I can't go back there. Can't.
Then here's what you need to do, Charlotte. Trust me. Looking in the shadows, they said quite a few incriminating things. Detective, is that enough for a proper perp walk of shame?
Yep, plenty.
Well, got him.
Did you tell Miss Morgan to go to Shell?
I didn't technically break any rules.
This all goes into the overarching theme of this episode.
Mommy gave you a bunch of rules without explaining things. The real reason that we shouldn't swear is that bad words make people feel bad.
So, does that mean I get my money back?
Let's try.
Nah.
Sorry, you're not responsible for my lost time.
No. Yet I can't help but feel
Responsible.
somewhat
Accountability.
accountable.
Yeah, accountable.
Well then, I look forward to getting to know the real you.
And I you.
Welcome back, Charlotte Richards.
And there we have the title. There we go. Word of the day, everybody, is accountability. That's the word of the day for this episode. It was really nice seeing how everything tied together and all kind of went back to that central theme of the idea of taking accountability. What is accountability? Like, why do we take accountability? All these different questions that can apply in a really macro sense of just how, we in the real world live our everyday life, but then also could apply to all these characters in a lot of different ways. So I love when episodes, and Lucifer always does that with their episodes, they give you kind of a central theme to kind of chew on and think about. So I like the way that they started it out here with Trixie and her swear jar, and kind of showing that Chloe was really just telling Trixie, don't say this, don't say that, or else, boom, you've got to pay. You've got to face this punishment. But wasn't, as she said later in the episode, really giving her the reasons behind why those rules were necessary to be in place. So the problem there is that when people don't know why what they're doing is wrong, or if it even truly is wrong, it can be hard to take the proper accountability for said thing. And that can lead to either doing things like trying to find loopholes in things like Trixie was doing, and maybe, like you could say, some of the suspects this episode were doing, that can lead to trying to apply blame in other places or apply blame to yourself that maybe isn't necessary, like we saw Charlotte doing. It can go on to maybe trying to apply a punishment to yourself that over guilt that you feel that maybe wasn't necessary, like the guy ended up doing when he threw himself into the pudding. I mean, and you can argue whether or not it was necessary. If he felt like it was, I guess I can't say it wasn't, but it just feels like this whole idea of if we don't know why we're following the rules that we're following, it can be really hard to apply any type of accountability in a reasonable way. I just think that that's really interesting. And it was just so cool watching Charlotte struggle with that this episode, and struggle with the idea of, okay, is what I'm doing wrong? Like, I'm defending all of these, horrible people sometimes that probably are guilty. And even though I'm just doing my job, like, I mean, what am I contributing to the world right now? I'm just doing something terrible. So then she starts to, really blame herself for that, and really, start to think about, feel like maybe she deserves some type of punishment. And then from there, she goes on to blame other people around her and determine what type of punishment they deserve. When she found out that those people didn't kill that guy, she still was like, well, you still did the poisoning. So she still continued to hold them at gunpoint. It's just like she was kind of becoming a judge, jury, and executioner all inside of her own mind. And that all just stemmed from her own insecurities about what she was doing. So I just thought that was really interesting and cool how, the case of the week dealt with that. The side thing with Trixie dealt with it. Then Lucifer even kind of dealt with it. In fact, I would have been interested in seeing Lucifer deal with it even more. I see why they didn't have it go that direction, because there was already a lot going on in this episode, and they were already looking at it from a lot of different angles, so it wasn't much room to fit much more in here. But it would have been cool, and it would still be cool if they decide to do this in the future, to maybe see Lucifer kind of deal with the idea of how accountable should I be for maybe the things that I have caused to happen in this world because of the favors that I was doing for people. Because, people always try to, go back and blame things on the devil. And he's always expressed how he doesn't like that and he doesn't appreciate that. But maybe in some cases, it really is the devil's fault. Maybe it really is, he's in, like, yeah, they wanted this stuff. It was their desire. It's not like he just put it in them. It was something they desired. But if they were seeking him out and he enabled them to do what they wanted to do and did favors for them, especially considering the fact that Lucifer is talking about starting to do favors again now, it does bring up the question, is there any accountability that he should take for that? And so I think that would have also been an interesting route for them to take Lucifer's character this episode. And I see why they didn't, but maybe that's going to come up a little bit more in future episodes. But you could still say that they gave us a glimpse of that this episode, or at least of what Lucifer's mindset is regarding that, when he talked about all the arbitrary rules that his father makes, and he related that back to how Chloe just was putting arbitrary rules on Trixie. And then Lucifer went on to say he feels like accountability is overrated. So obviously that's what Trixie felt too, because she started trying to find all those loopholes, and her and Lucifer kind of, identified with each other there and bonded a bit in a way because he taught her those loopholes. So you could definitely say that this also was a little bit of a, metaphor for God and Lucifer's relationship and how Lucifer feels about these arbitrary rules that God gives out. And so he's like, if all these rules are so arbitrary and everything and just coming out of nowhere and I don't understand them, why should I feel any accountability for the things that I do, for the favors that I do for people or anything like that? So they definitely did kind of seem to give us a little bit of a glimpse at his mindset in that regard when you think about it. And they also use that as an opportunity to relate that back to Chloe getting shot and Lucifer feeling responsibility, which is a bit different from accountability. But Lucifer felt like he was responsible to be, watching over Chloe and protecting her in his mind. So he felt a sense of responsibility there and felt that I guess he didn't live up to that responsibility. So that was also a nice little thing that they threw in there. And it sounds like for now, Lucifer at least is telling himself that he's gotten past that and that he doesn't feel guilty over that. But who's to say? So otherwise, all in all, overall, thought this was a really enjoyable episode. Really liked it. Ella was, in her top form as always. Dan had me cringing as always, but in a good way. Because his character can just be kind of cringy sometimes, but in a good way. Not like bad writing, but just... We're like, oh my gosh, Dan, the stuff you do, like going to Charlotte's office and then just her not really knowing who he is, but him putting himself out there like that. I appreciate that in Dan. But it definitely, I was like, oh man, this got to be kind of embarrassing for him, given the fact that he doesn't know the truth right now. And then Charlotte being in this episode, that was really cool to see again. I'm guessing we're going to be continuing to see her on the show now. She was definitely a welcome addition in season 2, so I'm not surprised to see her again. Definitely would have been a tough character to let go. No Amenadiel or Maze this episode. I don't even remember off the top of my head whether we got Linda. Maybe we got one scene. I can't remember. I don't think we did though. So there were a few characters missing this episode, but yeah, still overall strong episode. I really enjoyed it, and it was also just the usual Lucifer kind of goofiness. I want that. I just always got to mention that. I love how much this show balances the drama and the goofiness, and the case was just really kind of fun to follow this episode to me. So those are all of my thoughts on it. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the episode. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And head on over to Patreon if you want to see the full uncut reactions way ahead of the YouTube schedule. That'll be it. I'll see you all later.